Welcome to a thoughtful look at one of the most serious and rare actions in the Catholic Church: excommunication. Often misunderstood, this measure is not intended as a form of punishment, but rather as a spiritual wake-up call. It's a deeply rooted tradition within Church law, meant to inspire reflection, reconciliation, and ultimately, return to communion. Excommunication places an individual outside the sacramental life of the Church, calling them to examine their actions or beliefs in light of Catholic teaching. But who are the individuals in modern times who have received this canonical penalty? In today's video, we'll respectfully explore the stories of 10 Catholics whose words or actions brought them into formal conflict with Church authority. These cases highlight how the Church addresses challenges to unity, doctrine, and governance in today's world. Let's begin. Number 10. Father Natal Santono. Father Natal Santono, a 61-year-old priest from the Diocese of Palestrina in Italy, was declared excommunicated in January 2025. The decision followed public statements he made on YouTube in late 2024, in which he expressed personal doubts about the legitimacy of Pope Francis's pontificate. He suggested that Pope Benedict XVI had not properly resigned in 2013 and raised other concerns related to church governance. Despite receiving formal guidance from his bishop, Monsignor Mauro Parmiani, Father Santono continued sharing his views online. A canonical investigation followed, and on January 20, 2025, the diocesan authorities issued a statement confirming his excommunication under canon law for schism, a term used when a person no longer acknowledges the authority of the Pope or the unity of the Church. This decision means he is no longer permitted to celebrate the sacraments or exercise public ministry. His case reflects an ongoing challenge faced by Church leadership: maintaining unity while addressing theological disagreements in a rapidly changing digital age. Number 9. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano. Once a high-ranking official in the Church, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano served as the Vatican's apostolic nuncio to the United States. On July 5, 2024, he was formally declared excommunicated following an investigation by the Vatican's Doctrinal Office. The decision was based on his public statements over several years, which were determined to be in schismatic opposition to the Church's magisterium. Archbishop Vigano had publicly distanced himself from key teachings of the Second Vatican Council and voiced personal rejection of Pope Francis's authority. He became widely known in 2018 after publishing a letter questioning the Vatican's handling of former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick's case. While his concerns sparked wide discussion, his continued refusal to recognize Church leadership ultimately led to canonical action. The Vatican cited Archbishop Vigano's formal break with communion and his rejection of papal authority as the key reasons for his excommunication. This action, known in canon law as lati sententiae, meaning it takes effect automatically when certain conditions are met, resulted in his exclusion from the Church's sacramental and ministerial life. Number 8. The 10 Poor Clare Nuns of Bellarado, Spain. On June 22, 2024, 10 members of the Poor Clare Convent in Bellarado, Spain, were formally excommunicated by Archbishop Mario Eister of Burgos. The decision followed a public declaration made by the community on May 13, 2024, in which they announced their withdrawal from communion with the Catholic Church. In a written manifesto, the group voiced disagreement with key elements of the Church's recent teachings, including those stemming from the Second Vatican Council. They expressed support for Pablo de Rojas Sánchez Franco, a former cleric previously declared outside Church communion. In their statement, the nuns claimed Pope Pius XII was the last legitimate pontiff and expressed concerns over Church decisions related to property administration, which added to the tensions. After declining to appear before an ecclesiastical tribunal and refusing reconciliation, they were declared to have incurred lati sententiae excommunication. As a result, they lost their canonical status as religious and no longer have access to the sacraments within the Church. The case received significant media attention in Spain and highlighted the challenges the Church faces in preserving unity during times of internal division. Number 7. Father Ramon Gaiti. On January 1, 2024, Father Ramon Gaiti, A 48-year-old priest serving in the Diocese of Livorno, Italy, was declared excommunicated following a homily delivered on New Year's Eve. The homily took place at San Ranari Parish in Guidi, during a mass commemorating the anniversary of Pope Benedict XVI's passing. During the liturgy, Father Gaiti made public statements questioning the legitimacy of Pope Francis and used language that church officials considered gravely divisive. Bishop Simone Giusti of Livorno, after reviewing the statements, deemed the remarks a public act of schism, an offense that carries automatic excommunication under canon law. Following the decision, Father Gaiti was removed from parish ministry, suspended from all priestly functions, and advised to seek reconciliation. In later comments made to a local radio outlet, he expressed disagreement with the Church's response. His case remains a point of reflection on how public discourse within the Church is navigated during times of theological and generational tension. Number 6. Father Krzysztof Weslik. On September 25, 2023, Pope Francis issued a decree confirming the excommunication of Father Krzysztof Weslik, a former Polish religious priest who had previously been dismissed from his order in 2018. The decree followed years of ongoing disagreement with church leadership and teaching. Father Weslik, who had been removed from his congregation for repeated acts of disobedience, continued to celebrate unauthorized liturgies and publicly challenged the authority of the Pope and the reforms of the Second Vatican Council. Despite being suspended, he continued to hold private services. After a canonical investigation in 2021, the Vatican's Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith concluded that he had persisted in an open stance of separation from the Church, resulting in lati sententiae excommunication. He was also dismissed from the clerical state, meaning he no longer holds the rights or responsibilities of a priest in the Catholic Church. Though he publicly rejected the decision, the Church has encouraged his return through reconciliation. Number 5. Father Marko Ivan Rupnik. Father Marko Ivan Rupnik, a Jesuit priest and artist from Slovenia, was declared excommunicated in May 2020 by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. The excommunication stemmed from a canonical violation involving the sacrament of confession. According to official church statements, Father Rupnik was found to have absolved a person with whom he had engaged in inappropriate behavior, an act that violates canon law due to the sacramental context involved. Though the excommunication was later lifted following formal steps taken by Rupnik to reconcile with church authorities, the case prompted broader discussions around accountability and pastoral responsibility. His situation became one of the more publicly discussed cases in recent years, with church leaders emphasizing transparency and the importance of upholding the integrity of the sacraments. Father Rupnik's excommunication was linked to a grave violation involving the sacrament of reconciliation, a deeply serious matter within canon law. The case centered around a 2015 incident involving a novice in Italy. After a 2-year canonical investigation, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith confirmed the offense and issued an automatic excommunication in May 2020. According to official statements, the penalty was lifted later that same month following what was described as an act of repentance by Father Rupnik. However, questions remain among some observers regarding the sincerity of that process, particularly as additional allegations later surfaced. More than 20 individuals have since come forward with accusations of misconduct related to past decades in Slovenia, dating back to the 1980s and 1990s. In June 2023, the Jesuit order formally dismissed Father Rupnik, not in connection with those specific accusations, which the Vatican stated were no longer subject to canonical action due to time limits, but on the grounds of disobedience. The case remains a subject of continued discussion regarding pastoral integrity and accountability within the Church. Number 4. Father Jeremy Leatherby. On August 7, 2020, Father Jeremy Leatherby, a diocesan priest from Sacramento, California, was declared excommunicated by Bishop James Soto. The canonical decision followed several years of disciplinary concern. Father Leatherby had been suspended in 2016 following allegations of misconduct, and during his suspension, he continued to celebrate unauthorized masses in private homes, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. In these services, he deviated from liturgical norms by publicly rejecting the legitimacy of Pope Francis, inserting the name of Pope Emeritus Benedict Roman XVI in the Eucharistic prayer instead. This public rejection of the reigning pontiff's authority met the canonical definition of schism. After being informed of the excommunication, Father Leatherby accepted the Church's decision. In September 2020, he requested release from the clerical state, a petition that Pope Francis granted. As a result, Father Leatherby is no longer a priest in active ministry and has no clerical standing within the Catholic Church. Number 3. Tomislav Vlasic. On July 15, 2020, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith declared the excommunication of former Franciscan priest Tomislav Vlasic. The decree cited multiple canonical violations, including unauthorized ministry, promotion of doctrinal confusion, and separation from church authority. Vlasic had previously served as a spiritual advisor to individuals associated with the Medjugorje apparitions. He was laicized in 2019 following concerns raised about his teachings, personal conduct, and involvement in unapproved mystical activities. Despite this, he continued to operate independently, founding a religious movement called the Church of Jesus Christ of the Universe, and participating in sacramental rituals without church approval. The Diocese of Brescia publicly confirmed his excommunication on October 23, 2020. After he refused repeated invitations to reconcile with church authorities. He is no longer permitted to exercise any form of ministry or receive the sacraments. Number 2. The Black Hermits of Westray, Scotland. On December 24, 2019, 3 individuals, Father Stephen de Kerdrell, Sister Colette Roberts, and Brother Damon Kelly, commonly referred to as the Black Hermits of Westray, Scotland, were excommunicated by Bishop Brian Magee of Argyll and the Isles. The action followed the publication of a public declaration on their website in April 2019, in which they withdrew their allegiance from Pope Francis and the Holy See. In their statement, the trio expressed theological disagreements and questioned the direction of the Church under the current pontificate. Their decision to separate themselves from the unity of the Church was formally recognized as an act of schism. After declining opportunities for dialogue and reconciliation, the diocese confirmed that the group had incurred automatic excommunication under canon law. They are no longer recognized as being in communion with the Catholic Church. Number 1. Pablo de Rojas Sánchez Franco. Pablo de Rojas Sánchez Franco was declared excommunicated in July 2019 by Bishop Mario Aister of Bilbao, Spain. The decision followed his establishment of an independent religious group outside the communion of the Catholic Church. De Rojas claims to have received episcopal ordination in 2016 through a bishop previously associated with the Pomerian movement, though he denies any formal affiliation with that sect. De Rojas publicly rejects the Second Vatican Council, along with all popes from Pope Pius Roman XII onward, including Pope Francis, whom he has labeled in disparaging terms. His organization, the Pious Union of St. Paul the Apostle, operates independently and is not recognized by the Catholic Church. The canonical penalty of excommunication was issued on the basis of schism. Pablo de Rojas Sánchez Franco's independent group, based in Bilbao, Spain, gained increased attention in May 2024 when it was joined by a group of religious sisters, the Poor Clares of Bellarado, following their public break from communion with the Catholic Church. The decision to align with de Rojas's movement reportedly stemmed in part from a disagreement related to property matters, which contributed to growing tensions between the community and diocesan leadership. Despite repeated pastoral outreach and formal warnings from church authorities, de Rojas continued to promote his views and preside over unauthorized religious activities. As a result, the canonical penalty of lati sententiae excommunication was officially confirmed. This action excluded him from sacramental life and prohibited him from exercising any form of ecclesial ministry within the Catholic Church. His case, like others examined in this series, highlights the careful steps the Church takes before confirming such a serious canonical measure. The goal, even in moments of separation, remains the same: to preserve unity, uphold sacred teaching, and invite reconciliation wherever possible. As we look back on the 10 most recent excommunications within the Catholic Church, what emerges is not a story of condemnation, but one of tension, responsibility, and the ongoing challenge of maintaining unity in a global faith community. Each of these cases involved individuals who, in different ways, stepped outside the visible boundaries of ecclesial communion. In some cases, that separation came through theological dissent. In others, it was through persistent disobedience, unauthorized ministry, or public declarations of division. Yet the Church never issues excommunication lightly. In every instance, there is a process, a path of dialogue, correction, and invitation to reconciliation. The goal is never exclusion for its own sake, but the hope of restoration. Excommunication, though dramatic in name, is ultimately a pastoral measure. It marks the boundary between unity and separation, not to shame, but to encourage reflection and return. It's important to understand that this list is not meant to stir judgment. Rather, it provides insight into how the Church responds when individuals break communion in a way that can no longer be overlooked. And what about other cases that have drawn attention, like that of Bishop Joseph Strickland, the former bishop of Tyler, Texas? While his situation did not involve excommunication, it is often brought up in discussions about ecclesial discipline in the modern Church. Bishop Strickland was relieved of his pastoral governance by Pope Francis in late 2023 following a formal apostolic visitation. According to Vatican statements, the decision was pastoral in nature and rooted in concerns about diocesan leadership, not doctrine or personal sanctity. Strickland remained a bishop and a Catholic in good standing. No canonical penalties were imposed. However, the move generated widespread conversation, especially in the United States, about the balance between episcopal autonomy and communion with the wider Church. This distinction matters. While excommunication represents a break from the sacraments and visible unity, other actions like the removal of a bishop from office do not carry the same canonical weight. They are administrative decisions, often based on governance, not heresy or schism. In both types of cases, however, the Church aims to protect what it calls the integrity of communion. That includes fidelity to doctrine, respect for ecclesial authority, and responsibility for the care of souls. And in a world where digital platforms can amplify dissent as quickly as devotion, maintaining that communion becomes more delicate and more essential than ever. Today, as we reflect on these recent excommunications and high-profile Church decisions, we're reminded that the Catholic Church is not simply an institution, it is a spiritual family. And like any family, moments of separation, while painful, can also be moments of truth. They challenge the community to clarify what it believes, how it lives, and what it means to belong. Whether we agree or disagree with individual outcomes, the deeper question remains: how can the Church remain united in faith, truth, and charity, even in the face of disagreement? Perhaps the answer lies not in rigid enforcement or unchecked freedom, but in fidelity rooted in humility. As Sister Faustina once wrote, "Mercy does not excuse, it transforms." And perhaps that's true not just for individual souls, but for the Church as a whole. While excommunication is one of the most serious measures the Catholic Church can take, it is never meant to be the final word. In fact, the Church teaches that the very purpose of this penalty is not separation, it's reconciliation. The goal is to awaken the conscience, not to abandon the person. Throughout Church history, there have been numerous cases where individuals who were once excommunicated later returned, some quietly, others publicly restored, not just in status, but in communion with the sacraments and the community. This path back is not only possible, but encouraged. The Code of Canon Law provides clear avenues for return, always rooted in repentance, dialogue, and a willingness to reconnect with the faith. Excommunication is not meant to create permanent outsiders. Instead, it draws a clear boundary so that healing can begin with clarity. It says, "Here is the line, but the door remains open." In this way, it reflects something deeply human and deeply divine, the longing for unity after division. And this theme resonates far beyond canon law. In a time when division feels ever more present in society and the Church alike, the call to mercy and reconciliation grows more urgent. The Church is not a place for the perfect. It is a home for the willing, a place where truth and love are called to meet. We've seen in earlier parts of this series that excommunication today isn't used often. It is rare, deliberate, and typically follows extended periods of warning, conversation, and concern. The stories of the individuals we've explored, from theologians to religious communities, reflect a variety of situations, but they all reveal one truth. Communion with the Church is not just a legal status. It's a living relationship. And when that relationship is strained or broken, the Church has both the responsibility and the hope to address it, not out of pride, but out of care for the soul. This is why excommunication always comes with an invitation to return. It is not the Church slamming a door shut. It is the Church saying, "We see the separation, but the door is still unlocked. Come home." That message echoes even louder today. In the digital age, where every theological opinion can be broadcast to millions, and where confusion often travels faster than clarity, the Church's role in preserving unity is more important and more complicated than ever. Authority is questioned, tradition is debated, and personal conviction often competes with communal belief. But even here, the Church offers something different. Not a system of punishment, but a path of healing. For those who have been excommunicated, and for those who feel on the margins of the Church for any reason, the call remains the same: return, reflect, reconcile. The path is open not because the Church overlooks error, but because it believes in transformation. And the stories we've explored, however complex or controversial, remind us of something vital. Mercy is not weakness. It is discipline guided by love, truth held in patience, justice shaped by compassion. And so the question becomes, what does mercy require of us, not just as observers of these stories, but as members of the Church today? That's where we're heading next. As we close this journey through one of the Church's most serious and least understood practices, we are reminded of something essential. The Catholic Church does not cast out lightly. It corrects in love, invites in humility, and always holds the door open for return. The stories we've shared are not just about canonical penalties or public controversies. They are about people's souls created with purpose, dignity, and freedom. People who, for many reasons, found themselves at odds with the Church's teachings or authority. And while excommunication marks a visible break, it is never a final verdict. It is a wake-up call with a hope-filled purpose. That purpose is reconciliation. The Church is a living body, not a museum of saints. It is filled with flawed people, seeking grace one day at a time. And just as it upholds truth and sacred tradition, it also proclaims again and again that no one is beyond the reach of mercy. Not the fallen, not the defiant, not the confused. No one. In every sacrament, in every page of the Gospel, in every quiet moment of repentance, the Church speaks the same invitation: come home. And that invitation isn't just for the 10 names we discussed, it's for all of us. Because the heart of the Church isn't built on penalties. It's built on a promise that love is stronger than failure. That unity is possible even after division. That mercy doesn't erase the truth, but it gives the truth its deepest meaning. In an age of quick judgments, public platforms, and deepening division, the witness of the Church is more needed than ever, not as a force of condemnation, but as a voice of clarity and compassion. So wherever you find yourself today, close to the Church, far from it, or somewhere in between, know this: the door is still open. The path of return is still possible. And mercy is not just an idea, it is a person. It is Christ Himself. He is waiting, and He will never stop. If this video offered you a new perspective on the Church, or helped you understand the deeper meaning behind excommunication, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message of hope. Leave a comment below with your thoughts, or simply write, "Mercy leads home." And as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, may peace be with you, and may we each become instruments of unity in a world longing for reconciliation.